Angelina Jolie and Cynthia Erivo bond over singing live on set, and why Jolie's daughter needed Defying Gravity. We want art to have influence. At the Tony Awards in June, the past and future of Wicked were in the spotlight, with Idina Menzel and Cynthia Erivo, the Elphabas of stage and screen, respectively, presenting the night's Best New Musical Award to the outsiders. One of those statuettes went to Angelina Jolie, who, with her daughter Vivian, was among the producers of the Broadway adaptation of S.E. Hinton's classic 1967 novel. "I know how excited everybody was that you presented the Tony," Jolie says to Erivo during their actors-on-actors conversation, calling Erivo's part in the ceremony the cherry on top. "That it would be from you?" Excitement from team outsiders certainly makes sense. For playing Celie in the 2015 Broadway revival of the musical, The Color Purple, Erivo won a Tony, a Grammy and an Emmy, putting her, in one swoop, just an Oscar short of vaunted EGOT status. Today, though, Jolie and Erivo have gathered not to discuss Broadway, but to delve into their recent film roles. Jolie's Maria begins on the day of opera diva Maria Callas' death, then rewinds to her final days, with flashbacks to her career triumphs, heartbreaks, and childhood of trauma. Jolie could relate to Maria. "Having lost my voice," she says, speaking metaphorically and then adding, "maybe when I lost my mother, maybe when someone hurt me." To master the role in the Pablo Larraín film, therefore, Jolie trained for 7 months, and it was like a therapy, to get inside Elphaba's skin for Wicked. Each day Erivo had to undergo a green transformation that would take, she says, up to 4 hours, which was on top of taking care of her vocal cords afterward. "It doesn't matter how accomplished a singer you are. You have to find the time to repair," Erivo says. At the end of their talk, the two performers set their eyes toward the future. "I hope we get to work together," Jolie says. "Let's find something." Cynthia Erivo: "When I watched Maria, I wanted to find out what brought you to the project." Angelina Jolie: "Well, I had wanted to work with Pablo Larraín for a long time. I think he's a wonderful director that is very thoughtful about his subject and his work. And he's very sensitive to behavior in actors, but also able to shoot a film, and you sometimes sacrifice one for the other. He called me about Maria, and I said, you have to give me a few days. I knew of her a little bit, but I watched a lot of her work. Then I also watched a lot of her interviews. What got me the most was, towards the end of her life, there was a lot of cruelty, and she was very unsupported. I knew that the whole team wanted to approach it with love and respect for her, so I thought we'd try." Erivo: "I didn't realize that there was that much cruelty. There's a particular scene where she comes out of the opera house after singing, and an aggressive photographer's there. I felt so heartbroken for her, as someone who's just trying to find her feet again." Jolie: "I'm sure you understand her even in ways I don't, as singing has been a part of your life since you were little. And you're so unbelievably talented. It's a lifetime commitment. It's all the work that's not seen and not understood. And in many ways you were born very talented. But really for me to now understand what it takes. I have so much respect for you and your work." Erivo: "Thank you, Jolie. In moments like that with Maria, she gave so much of her life, and then when she wasn't able to perform at that level, there wasn't a sympathy or a support for what she was as an older woman. There was only as if she just disappointed people for not being able to deliver. And cruelty. I have so many thoughts and questions for you. For someone to be such an accomplished Broadway performer, to then have the camera this close, how is that adjustment to sing that way?" Erivo: "With Broadway you have to perform to the back of the house. You want them to see everything, you want them to be able to read the emotions, so you have to send it out. When on camera, John Chu, our director, took us off track. There were no tracks. We just agreed to sing live on set." Jolie: "That's extraordinary." Erivo: "When we were doing a song like For Good, For Wicked, Part 2, there'd be silence in my ears and he'd say, 'You start,' and the pianist will come in. We could even include all the breaks in the voice. If it turns into a whisper, then it turns into a whisper, and then you can build from there. That was really the joy of being able to do all of that on set, because you could really connect in the moment. Change your mind in the moment while you talk about all of the work that you had done to sing. Because yes, I've been doing it my whole life, so for me it's like skin second nature. But to have to learn a new form of singing, because opera is its own form. How brave." Jolie: "Thank you. I was terrified. But I think it's a gift as an artist, and I know you felt this going into your film as well, when you're just not sure you're able to do it. You're not sure you're good enough. The task, the challenge, is set and you feel small. It's a gift for an artist. So I felt that. Pablo knows opera, was going since he was a little boy, loves the art form, takes it very seriously. So he made sure I had the right teachers. Italian classes, opera singing, body breathing. People keep quoting me because I made, not the mistake, I admitted it was like a therapy. But it really is. Because I didn't realize the practice of it and the learning of it is one thing, but it was finding my voice and letting my voice out that was really hard for me. And I was really emotional about it. I didn't know how much I had lost my voice. Maybe when I lost my mother, maybe when someone hurt me, whatever it was, the different things that had made it smaller and locked it away. So finding it and letting it come out was very emotional, and such a feeling that I wish for everybody to have. I wish everybody could know what you feel when you sing at the top of your beautiful voice, and you know what can come out of your body. And it's not just what you can do for an audience or how you tell a story, it's that you can make that sound. Maria said something. She said she doesn't like to hear records because they're perfect. Erivo. Yeah, I remember that. Jolie. And there's a truth to that. For Broadway, it's not a film. Every night's different. Every moment's different. There's a danger. There's a surprise. There's a life. I feel that you were able to keep that. When I watched this work that you did in Wicked, it's bigger than life, but it felt very honest. Your work was just exquisite and humble, and I felt somehow you just pulled me in past all of that. Erivo, thank you very much for saying that. With Maria, in her everyday life, there's this wonderful fearless way of she never feels sorry for herself. Jolie, thank you for noticing that. Erivo, ever. I think that's what breaks your heart, because she's fighting still. We don't get that very often in our women characters, in these bigger-than-life women. We want them to falter a little. Jolie, they're a good woman if they're apologizing. Or if they're breaking. Maria didn't have a mother that loved her and told her that she was enough as she was, so both of our characters come from this being alone since they were little, and feeling a little different for very different reasons. Erivo, and never expecting that anyone would give. Jolie a love. Erivo, there's this wonderful comparison of understanding the loneliness that they both have to experience. Because of that, they somehow have a really big capacity to love. So when it comes to them, they're really open to it. Jolie, yes. I think it's true for a lot of strong women. There's an idea that we don't want care and kindness and softness and love, and it is so much the opposite. Erivo, can I ask how long were you filming this piece? Jolie, I was in training for about 7 months, and then we filmed, maybe it was 3 months. Erivo, wow. Jolie, yeah. And we sang live on set. Erivo, there is something quite thrilling about getting to do that on a set. Jolie, for you, I'm sure it's thrilling because you know how good your voice is. For me, more terrifying than thrilling. When I first sang, I asked it to be the tiniest room. Like, whoever needs to be here, please close the doors. By the end, I got used to making big sound in a room full of many, many people. But yeah, there's quite a feeling. Erivo, you said that you were terrified. Do you think that feeling is eased now? Jolie, I feel so many emotions when it comes to this piece because I had someone in my life say that I couldn't sing. They didn't even say, you couldn't sing. I was singing something little, and they laughed a little bit at me. And it really locked me. I don't think I would have ever tried had this not come. I would have just lived my whole life never finding my voice. So, yes, I went from being very terrified to being very grateful. I can't not talk about some of the joy of this film that you've made. I remember taking my daughter, a few of my children, but my one daughter, who, when she watched Defying Gravity, I remember that moment. Because as a mom, we want art to have an influence. I felt that feeling of, oh, she needs this. She's feeling this desire to know that there's endless possibility and something within her she hasn't discovered yet. This was how I was feeling about it in that moment. I love seeing it live. I loved when it came at the end of this film. That particular song or what it means to you, singing it, anything that you can share. Erivo, there was this huge responsibility because it's such a well-known song. And people know it, people love it. I really wanted to mean it.